Hi everyone, welcome to or back to my channel. My name is James Feeney. Uh, Today I'm going to be talking about fulfillment and spirituality and how you can incorporate that into your daily life. This is my fourth time filming this video. Yesterday I tried 3 times, twice on my camera, it just wasn't having it. It didn't want to focus, so that was really great. And then I tried on my phone and I was filming vertically, which we know doesn't really translate very well into YouTube or videos that are viewed on different screens. So today I'm trying, and this time I am consciously filming horizontally, so hopefully that works better. Hopefully it's in focus and all the ratios seem better. So let's hope that that works out for us. I have some notes on this topic. This is something that's a little bit near and dear to my heart. It's something that I have worked with and tried to incorporate into my life and enliven in my own world for some time, and I think I've picked up a few tips and tricks myself that I could share with you guys in going about finding the same for yourselves. Um, and when I talk about fulfillment, I'm talking more so about happiness, feeling whole, uh, feelings of purposefulness, or having a purpose. And as far as spirituality goes, you might not have a specific belief system or religion. That's totally fine. What's spiritual to you might be your day-to-day actions or things that make you feel happy, or the things that you have an interest in. Maybe that's your form of spirituality, if nothing else. So this can apply to any and everyone. That's the goal, at least. So I'm going to reference my notes and we're going to go through the different tips or tricks that I kind of have, and they're broken down into categories. A big aspect to this is going to be about timing, scheduling, and acting. So ideas are really great, but when we don't have ways to enact them or steps to take, they can either seem really daunting and they don't really go anywhere. They might stagnate without use or a way to use them. So a lot of this is going to be about action and example. Otherwise, the ideas are kind of meaningless, at least in my opinion. So the first one that I have, and this goes straight into that whole scheduling thing, is scheduling time to do things that make you feel good. So anything, it doesn't have to be something that costs money. I know when we think of things as far as like plans go and scheduling, we want to go for that grand thing, maybe signing up for something or an experience or buying something, and that's not what this is about. If you like to dance, it doesn't mean you have to go out and sign up for time at a studio or a class. Just turn on a YouTube choreography video and tell yourself that at night you're going to give yourself an hour in a certain room in your house, and it's just for that, and you won't be disturbed. You won't yield on that time for anything, for work, or because you're tired, or because you feel like you aren't deserving. This is kind of about creating a bubble of time that's very much for you, that makes you feel like you are doing something that's furthering what brings you enjoyment, and that other things can't penetrate this bubble, especially with the scheduled and unyielding aspect to it. Don't let go of that amount of time. Don't surrender it because of outside factors. It's very important that you're realistic about it, so don't maybe set aside 2 hours when you know you don't have 2 hours, but something small, maybe starting small and growing from there, but keeping it realistic and sticking to it. This is something that might improve upon really tough days and make them a little bit more bearable, or take a good day and make it a best day or a really great day. And I use dancing as an example. It could be any sort of activity. It might not even be like a physical sport-like activity. It could be reading, or cooking, or going and getting coffee and sitting. Whatever this thing is for you, just make sure that you identify it and why maybe it makes you feel good, and then schedule it. Another would be starting a daily practice. So that in and of itself, what we just talked about, in a way is a daily practice, but it's just really ushering in a hobby or interest that you already have. This is about starting something new, maybe not something that jumps into your head as something that you already enjoy. Examples that I have would be maybe a gratitude journal, or maybe not even a journal, but just writing down things that you're grateful for every day. 3 things. It could be something like my coffee was really great today. I am really thankful that my family is so loving and supportive, and I just got a pair of new shoes and I'm really excited to wear them to work. Small things like that. It might even just be, depending on how grateful you're feeling, the fact that you have clean water or a really great roof over your head or food. Whatever your situation sort of allows for and how you're feeling grateful. If you're having trouble with this, maybe look into that, and instead of taking the time to write what you're grateful about, explore the feelings of why you're having trouble finding things that you're grateful for. Maybe it's a matter of perspective, where you might need to shift and sort of up the positivity in your life, or start finding things that you're grateful for if you can't really identify them. If it's not, if you really don't think that it's a matter of perspective and you've kind of decided that that isn't the case and it's just the structures, then writing out steps of how you are going to position yourself or make steps toward living a life with things in it that you are grateful for. So, either way, no matter what, using that time to either talk about what you're grateful for, um, using that time to investigate perspectives, or planning how you will get to a place where you will be grateful for things. So, those are really helpful, at least in my opinion. Other daily practices could include meditation or journaling. Personally, I kind of mix the two. Journaling was something I'd always wanted to do. I'd seen it, I've been suggested it by so many people, and I felt it was such a daunting thing for me. I couldn't start on it, I couldn't get going. It seemed so broad, it seemed like there was so much to talk about or cover, and I just could never pick up the pen and start because I never knew where to, and I felt like I was leaving things out if I wrote about something. But through meditation and then deciding that I was going to strictly write about a meditative experience, like my feelings, my thoughts, whatever happened to me during that time, my perceptions, just taking that little finite time of meditation and journaling about that, it really empowered me to feel like I was able to journal and got excited to journal. And from there, I was better able to journal about other things. And it was a very small step that led to something grander for me. And it really dispelled some fear behind journaling, where the whole writing and ideas were concerned. So, starting small is really key, especially if these are things that you are new to or feel like you don't know how to tackle. Start small. That's my biggest suggestion here, and you will eventually work your way up and outward, which is a really wonderful and beautiful thing, I think. Next, we have sort of time for reflection. So, these daily practices are, in a way, about reflection, but they're also about time for yourself. Now we have just strict reflection, and this is very much about those circumstances. So, taking, for example, your current life, your career, or your close relationships, your circle. Writing out what about them you do or do not like, what about them you would like to change. This is actually a little bit, maybe it's a little bit more career centered and circumstance centered, but what about your job is fulfilling? If you work in a call center, maybe you go and you are tired of putting up with people's complaints, but upon reflection, you realize that there is something about helping others over the phone and remedying their problems that is fulfilling for you. Maybe you've decided that isn't enough and that this is not the place that you want to stay or be long term. Write out some steps. What's the first step you can take to get to where you'd like to go? And if you don't know where you'd like to go, maybe brainstorm where you in a way that lets you figure out where you'd want to go. Maybe you'd like to write. A first step could be allocating 30 minutes every day to write, or to work out the structure of the book that you'd been kind of procrastinating and starting. So taking action is key, and planning out those actions in manageable, small, bite-sized steps so that you aren't overwhelmed and so that they actually happen. Another thing is to, maybe not daily, I wrote daily, but I'm kind of rethinking that. Do something that doesn't necessarily or outright benefit yourself. What I mean by this is sort of in like a resource tangible aspect. So the first thing and biggest thing that comes to mind is volunteering. You are giving your time. Time is a really valuable resource. If we had to go through all of these things, it's about reclaiming your time. Uh, your time is in essence who you are. It's the resource that you have that cannot be taken from you. You give your time to work, you give your time to family. You have a limited amount, and where you choose to spend it is, in essence, a big aspect of who you are or are seen to be, by yourself and others. So choosing to use some of that time to help others, at cost to yourself. You've given time. You're giving physical labor, effort, or financial resources, of some sort, or just, food, whatever it is, to help someone. Maybe it's a soup kitchen, or you're tutoring students on the weekends in a program, or you're donating to a drive or organizing one. If you don't have the resources to kind of financially or contribute in a resource driven way, what can you do time wise and through physical means? Maybe you're really great at music and you decide that you're going to help people learn to write sheet music for free. The whole point of this is that there isn't some sort of uh, tangible, uh, how do I want to put this, reward. There isn't like a tangible reward for you. The reward is really meant to be like a larger scale, intrinsic type feeling of having done something or being a part of something greater than yourself or done some good. This is where the fulfilling and meaningful aspect comes from. I personally know that through volunteering, there was a lot to gain there, but this was something that I was dragging my feet a lot in starting throughout my life. I had different structures that kind of pushed me into volunteering, which was great, but as I got older and it became more so my choice, I was dragging my feet, and I finally had a class that had a civic engagement type requirement where I needed to volunteer, and it kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone and made me discover what types of volunteering were of interest to me and where I could put my skills to use. So you might not have that in your own life, but really hunkering down and making the choice, maybe sign up with a friend so that way it's more enjoyable for you right at the offset before you know what you actually like. Things like that. Next we have, and this one is the double-edged sword, I would say. Um, there's not just two types of people, but it's going to focus on what might benefit two very different types of people. So you might find that you kind of range in the middle, so take a little bit from each. For those of us who tend to isolate ourselves and value that time alone, and whenever we are free, we just want to sleep, relax, read, be in solitude. Spending time with people that you care about and that care about you. The key is knowing that these people and feeling as though these people truly care about you. Having and forming that community or family dynamic, not necessarily through blood relation, but just that group. And if you don't have that, maybe seeking that out. I know most of us have at least one person, if not a few, that we know deeply care about us and for us. So spending time with them, using that resource of time we were talking about, and instead of for the 10th day in a row deciding that after work you just want to go home and cook and sit alone, that you are going to force yourself to go get drinks with your good friend who's been asking. Doing those things that you can look back on and enjoy. Maybe you're like, I mean, personally, I would drag my feet a little bit in making plans, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. And then you're there and you're having the best time, and down the line in retrospect, you're like, I'm really glad I did that. So making the time and pushing yourself to do things like that. And if you're now here's the other side. If you're the person who is constantly throwing themselves into social situations and kind of does not like being alone or the quiet or spending time just by themselves, doing that. Starting small, especially if this is something that's intimidating to you, or you're nervous or sort of unsettled by the quietness that comes with being alone or in solitude. Maybe telling yourself that you are going to have 30 minutes to an hour on these days of the week where you are, obviously this is free time that could be allocated towards anything, but you aren't going to check your phone, call people, make plans. You're going to use this time for just yourself, maybe to read, maybe to reflect, maybe have a dinner by yourself, even though it's something that feels a little bit scary for you, either like at home or going out, whatever that may be. But just like spending that time with yourself, and if it's something that's really difficult for you, figuring out why. What about being alone and with your own thoughts is so scary or intimidating for you? And then we have, this is my final sort of tip or trick, and this is the fun one. This is about being spontaneous. So, doing things that shake up the status quo of your life or your schedule, and just have, like, it's focusing on just pure fun. So, like I said, with most of these things, starting small. So it might just be that you feel like you're caught in this humdrum of 9 to 5, but every day you pass a coffee shop and you're like, oh, I've been meaning to go there. Take one day, just go to the coffee shop, leave a little bit earlier for work and go. Start small with things like that, trying a new place to eat, or walking down a new path when you usually run this one route. Little things like that that open you to new experiences that maybe excite you just in the fact that they are novel and new. These things tend to amount and grow. You start with something small like a coffee, and next thing you know, you're feeling capable and enlivened, and you're ready to kind of take that road trip on a long weekend that you've been meaning to. So these things sort of grow and amount. Your confidence in being able to be spontaneous and to enact change in your life will grow as you act. But the key is starting small and letting yourself know that you are capable and deserving of these things. These are just some tips and tricks that might help to usher in feelings of fulfillment in your life, or to uncover it where it may have been hidden. Some of them can be a little bit spiritual in nature, how we talked about either meditation, reflection. Those aren't necessarily spiritual, but if you're on a religious or spiritual path, you can definitely spice them up and add in some spiritual elements or religious practice. That's always helpful. So let me know in the comments below if you've ever tried any of these and have some feedback, or if this has inspired you to maybe go out and do one of these things or try one of these things. I'm really curious to know. And also let me know what you'd guys like to see in the future. I've been having some trouble sort of amongst the many ideas rattling in my head, picking one to talk about. So this was just one of many, but I'd like to know what you guys would like to see. Have a good one. I'll see you guys later.